Hi everyone, this is Jeff Queen. I'm a four-time World Championship snare drummer and an original cast member of the Broadway show Blast. Gilbert Garcia asked me to put a little video together explaining what percussion means to me. And I've got to say, playing drums, playing music is pretty much everything to me. I would not be where I am today in my life if it wasn't for my love for drums and percussion. Started playing drums when I was about 10, got into marching band when I was 14, got into drum corps when I was 16, and to this day, I'm still involved in as a consultant or as a teacher, and still have a passion for playing drums. So everybody that's in my life that's not my blood family is a result of really being involved in drum corps or being involved in music. I met some amazing people along the way, some friends that I still hold dear to my heart in this day. My wife I met because of doing drum corps and performing. And like I said, pretty much everybody and almost everything that I have in my life is a result of my passion for playing drums. So I share this with you because regardless of what you want to do in your life, you're embarking on a journey by playing percussion, playing music that can stay with you for the rest of your life, and you can make a lot of great friends in the process. So what's cool is that everybody's like-minded. Everybody wants to play. Everybody's into the music, so you can share a lot through playing drums and playing music. So I urge you to stick with it. I urge you to take advantage of the events that are around you, like the Valley Percussion Festival. And I urge you to be curious and to continue to learn about the craft of music and playing drums. Best of luck to you and happy drumming.
Everyone, I want to invite you July 17th. Hey everyone, I want to invite you to join Gil Garcia and myself on Saturday, July 17th at 12 noon, when we will be discussing both 2-mallet and 4-mallet Texas region etudes. They came out today, it's Monday, July 12th, and since I don't get to actually visit with you all at Texas Bandmasters Convention, I'm happy to visit with you online. So I hope you'll join us on Saturday at noon. This weekend we'll do the 2-mallet and 4-mallet etudes, and we'll discuss them. I'll give you some thoughts about them, and then I'm happy to answer questions. I'd appreciate hearing from all of you. So please join us this Saturday. The following Saturday we will cover the snare drum and timpani etudes. Thank you. Have a great week.
There we go. Guys, hope you are having a great start to your weekend. Hope that it's looking fun, that it's looking restful, that it's looking peaceful, that it's looking safe. This is no channel to discuss any COVID or public health issues, but I consider all of you, dear friends of mine, and we really hope that you guys are doing well, that you're staying safe, that you're taking precautions. Uh, you know, please stay safe. And yes, we are here to have fun. We are here to have some excitement and some uh, extremely knowledgeable tidbits or gold nuggets by our guest today. Really quick, if you haven't checked out the clinic that happened yesterday, it's part of the Texas All State right there. It's part of the Texas All State edition. Of course, spearheading this is the public release, I guess, if we want to call it that, in substitute for TBA this year, the public release of the Texas All State Etudes. Okay, but this year, guys, thanks to technology, and this is something that gets me super excited, and I hope that this transfers to all of us. Uh, due to technology, guys, we can do this and we can do so many beautiful things. And it excites me because we are having, as a follow up to these two clinics, a set of clinics, a series of clinics by world class educators that are going to cover every single topic that we as educators and our students as auditionees, as performers, as music students can benefit from and have the most successful all state, all region season as possible. The most successful season as possible. Yesterday, Eric Martin, killer clinic. Guys, if you didn't watch it, trust me, you want to play this for your students. You want to have them subscribe to the G Drums YouTube channel, and you want them to play this over and over and over and over again. It is loaded with good stuff. How to develop your sight reading and be fast and be accurate. Guys, you want to do that. We're going to have other clinics coming up as far as what it takes to do a successful season. And the topics will be coming along as we start setting them up. We are also having some streams that have to do with starting the year post COVID with success. How about how to have a successful band camp? So relevant right now, right? So relevant. How to have a successful band camp. And guys, this is going to be off. We usually stream Fridays and Saturdays. We are going to be streaming this one this coming Tuesday. Stay tuned for the promo coming out, probably coming out today or tomorrow. Tuesday at 7 p.m. This coming Tuesday at 7 p.m. How to have a successful band camp. Get your students to log in and see it. You want to make sure that you see it yourself as well. And guess who's going to be delivering this for us? One of the top drum corps percussion staff members, Joe Hobbs from the Blue Coats Drum and Bugle Corps. How about that? That is so exciting, guys. I can't wait to get this information going. I'm excited myself, guys. I happen to be the one that's sitting here and sharing it, but I'm an educator. I'm a student. Every single clinic that goes by here, I see it as a viewer, and I'm excited as a viewer to see that one coming up. Well, as far as cues is concerned, I guess we're done. We're here to watch the presentation of the Snare and Timpani Texas All-State Audition Percussion Music. And guys, this guest, we saw her last week. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Today promises nothing less. Honored, excited to present my friend Sherry Rubins from UTSA.
Hey, Gil. Hey, everybody.
How are you doing, Sherry?
I'm good, thanks. I'm doing well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sherry, I'm gonna share something and with you right now, real quick.
Okay.
As I popped, up on the screen, your view, your channel, right?
Yeah.
Oh. That energy, that smile, I felt it. That's beautiful. That is beautiful, ma'am. Yes.
Thanks.
So, Sherry.
Here we are again.
Yes. And timpani and snare drum. I think we're starting with snare drum.
Yeah, let's do that. And before, I just want to, because sometimes we run out of time. The guests you've been having, well, you have all the time. It's so awesome. Like Eric Martin, what a great musician. And we forget how important sight reading is because we're so like, oh, I have 3 months now to learn these etudes. But I can tell everybody, and probably every working musician that would be on here would tell you, if you can't sight read, there's a lot of gigs that you're you're not going to get, or you're going to get fired from, because you get a call, somebody's sick, or the musicals that come through town. You get the book, maybe a week before, sometimes the day before. You got to be able to sight read. And what else does sight reading really help you with? It helps you learn the big pieces you have to learn so much faster, right? If you hone those skills, it's so important. Just all the guests are great. What a fun to have Joe Hobbs next week. That's beautiful. And like you said, you're still learning. We're all still learning, lifelong learners here. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And you want to know something, Sherry, following up on that, and this has been my experience, my observation with my group. When I've had students that talking about sight reading, the longer that they took to learn the piece, the lower in rank they would come up in the auditions. The sooner that they started, like the following year, I would put them on a heavy dose of sight reading amongst other stuff, and they learned the piece the following year sooner. They went up in ranks.
Interesting, right? Yeah.
Kept it up. They learned it sooner, went up in ranks.
Yep.
And I've had kids that went from not making a region band, Sherry, to being all staters.
Yeah.
So sight reading, guys, sight reading, mega important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we talked about last week, the process, this whole process. Yes, it's a competition, but it really is about, improving our skills. And that's what we want. We want our students to improve their skills overall. And so that maybe you can go from not being, in region band to becoming an all-stater one day.
Yes.
And even if you don't even if you somehow just don't make it to the all-state, itself, if you've improved your skills, that's beautiful. So I see Drew Lang saying hi. Hi, Drew Lang. How fun. It's fun to see people say hi like that.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
One of my favorite people there. Drew Lang would tell you, he's like the busiest freelancer in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Will tell you, if you can't sight read, he wouldn't be where he is if he couldn't sight read. So.
Oh, wow. Drew, do you mind giving us a comment about that real quick? Are you
still there, Drew? If you're still there, tell us about how important it is to sight read and be able to, and also to be able to play really kind of everything. I mean, Drew is one of those people that can seriously play everything. He doesn't have to turn any gigs down. Like if you call me a salsa gig, I'd have to pass that off on somebody. But not Drew. I don't know if he's writing or not.
So. Check this one out, guys. Check this one out.
But sight play. Interesting.
Never seen the music. You go up on stage.
Right.
Music is there. Perform.
Yep.
As you sight read.
Yeah, been there. So that the adrenaline you get from that, knowing that you're probably going to be able to do it, is awesome. The adrenaline, if you're not sure you're going to be able to do it, is not awesome, right? That's like, oh no. But it's super exciting if you're like, I got this. I can do this. I've been doing this, since 5th grade. And then you're like, this is what I've been spending all my time. So I'm here. And that rocks. The other way around doesn't rock. Yeah.
No, you want to know something, Sherry? I was reading this quotes and so true, so resonant. Money doesn't buy you happiness. And it's true. No. It's true, right? It doesn't. Right. But being poor makes you miserable. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we can equate that to sight reading. Sight reading, won't buy you happiness, but not knowing how to sight read, that would make you miserable.
That's going to make you miserable eventually. Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Oh, well. All right. So sight reading. Let's move right into the snare drum etude, because I love this Vic Firth book, and I see it. When I looked at the chart of everything that had been used. Okay, hang on. We're going to look at Drew's thing here. I've also never had to do much sight reading, but you can't memorize everything, which is what I call sight playing. You just can't memorize it. Right. You don't really have time to memorize everything you play. That's true. Yeah. Like we do this stuff. Yeah. That's not to say that you shouldn't memorize pieces like that you're performing on a senior recital or something. That's a beautiful thing. But just, I think Drew's point, is you just don't memorize everything. You have to be able to read what's in front of you. So,
I
oh,
I think it was Gordon Stout, if I recall. Don't quote me on this, but it was a heavy hitter, marimbist that after an experience, he honestly I'm not sure if it was him, but it was a heavy duty
sure.
marimbist, and he after having a bad experience many years ago, he plays everything with music in front and plays flawlessly. So, you know,
Yeah, well, there you go. Have to be able to do it. Have to be able to do that too. I mean, I often say that to my students, like when they're standing, they're staring at the instrument and they can't remember something. I'm like, the music's right in front of you. Just look up. But
yeah.
they, you know, it's right there. So, but it's a skill. It is a skill you have to learn. So, anyway, we could talk about all that for a long time. So
Yes.
the snare drum etude, I've actually already had a question sent to me by Dana Pradervan, our band vice president, whom, by the way, is a dear friend and has been for many years. And what a great position for her to be in, because she's a fabulous music educator and just is doing a great job with the TMEA organization. So in the snare etude, friends, make sure you check out all of the sound like I was from New York there. All of the errata that's listed on the TMEI site, because we have a lot of dynamics that I've added to the music. The piece was fine as it, as is. I would never say Vic didn't, Mr. Firth, I should say, didn't do a good job. He did an excellent job. These etudes are wonderful. But for this purpose, I thought it was a great idea to add some dynamics, and hopefully, I don't think he would mind. So check them out, because there's a lot, and I could read them all to you, but I think it's more important that you guys look at them online. Write them in your part right away. Please don't learn it and then go back and try to add the dynamics. That's just like learning it twice, in my opinion. So learn, add the dynamics and learn them right away. The question that I received this week was whether my last indication, which was at measure 39, there's a subito piano on the roll, which is on the second quarter note. And then I wrote originally and crescendo to fortissimo to finish the etude. So the question from a band director was, is the crescendo just on the roll, or is it supposed to go through the last line? And it should start on, you go a subito piano on the roll and then crescendo from there to the end of the line. If you listen to my video, watch my video, you'll see that. And I also, I've already watched my good friend Brad Meyer's videos, which are fabulous. And he definitely did the crescendo like I meant it to be. So crescendo, that last line from that subito on the roll. Hopefully that will make sense. So that being said, these dynamics, the only extreme dynamic is that fortissimo at the end, but we do have fortes and pianos. So make sure that you're being very careful. In snare drum, forte and mezzo forte can sound the same. So we have to really make sure that we record ourselves, we listen back and say, oh yeah, it did sound the same, or no, I made a difference. My suggestion is start the beginning with a nice strong forte, so that when you get to measure 13, look at my copy that's marked, when you get to measure 13 and you drop down, hang on, back up. When you get to measure 9, it's nice. You go from forte, and you can drop down to that piano easily. And then just come up a little bit to the mezzo forte in measure 13. So if you don't start with a strong forte, then you're kind of stuck, right? And you can't, there's not enough room for you to go one way or the other. What you don't want is to start too soft, because then your piano is rough, right? We want to really give ourselves room and make our dynamic contrast big. All right, so I like to play a lot of the straight eighth notes with one hand. And you'll see on my video, I did that with my left hand, and I just kept the left hand going on the eighth notes in that first line. I switch it up a little bit throughout, but you should do what's comfortable for you, not only is comfortable, but what makes it sound consistent. Okay, I noticed in Brad's video, he used his right hand, and I think I saw my friend Brian Zader, whose videos are also wonderful. We're just so lucky in the state to have people taking the time to do these videos for our students and our educators around the state, because we all know that there's not just one way to do things. And I think it's important to understand that we all respect each other, and I love that other people are doing this and helping out. All right, so we can get our word across, and we can get all the help that's needed across. We know not everybody has a private instructor. Okay, so we want to be there for everybody. So that's cool. Anyway, I also noticed that Brian did mostly, and Brad mostly did it with a right hand. fine. I'm honestly left-handed more than I am right-handed, so for me, that was a choice that I made because of that. Let's see. The flams in the beginning, be careful. The whole thing is forte at the beginning, but we don't want to we don't want to accent those flams, right? They should stay pretty steady. The rolls should be concert orchestral style rolls. Okay, I know we get this question a lot, or we have over the years. This is a concert etude, so please play. I know everybody uses different terms: a buzz roll, a concert roll, orchestral roll, not a rudimental roll. Let's just go with that. All right. So, and you don't have much time for these rolls, so think about the roll base you want to use, even when you're practicing it slow. All right. So if you're starting out half tempo, which is fine, make sure that whatever roll base you think you're going to use later, you can fit in. Now, that doesn't mean the roll is going to sound awesome when you're playing it really slow, but it means you won't have to switch gears later when you get to tempo. Okay. 150 is quick. Right? It doesn't sound quick when you're thinking, oh, 150 to the quarter note, but this is 300, right, for the eighth note. So it's pretty quick. And 140, which is the beginning tempo marking I gave you, you're like, oh, that's not much different. But it'll feel a lot different. So know that it's okay to play this at the 140 to the quarter note instead of the 150, okay? Other than that, there's some tricky rhythms, folks. We got our triplets mixed in with some straight eighth notes. Make sure that you're really playing your triplets evenly, spread across the beat. We have a missing partial to a triplet in measure 25. So I suggest playing that with the without the rest. So know what it sounds like if it were fully written out, and then practice leaving that little eighth note part of the partial of the triplet out. And I would do that over and over, loop it, and then you have to drop down to subito piano and come in. So really loop that and listen to that carefully. Excuse me. This is where like Brad's videos are awesome because he slows things down. These Vic Firth videos, which I did many, many years ago. I was very honored to be able to do them. I think when they first came out, Mark Wessels and at the time, Neil Larrabee had asked me to do those. And that was quite an honor. So I think some of mine are still up somewhere in the ancient places where things hide. But those videos are great. And he has some great play along tracks. So you can really hear the subdivisions there in that triplet pattern that goes into the straight eighth notes. Check out the ties in measure 18. Make sure you don't miss those. It's very similar to the measure previous, measure 17, but you've got this diminuendo and a crescendo, so watch that. What else do you all need to know? I think that's covering a lot of this etude. I just would suggest really starting slow. Get your stickings, I was going to say fingerings, stickings in so you're not changing it up as you go. All right. And I use a lot of right hand lead, except when I'm, doing some of the straight notes. And when I get to triplets, don't feel like everything has to start right. So I say I use some right hand lead or a lot, but if you're playing snare drum, and everything else, you need to be able to use both hands equally, right? And just as strong. So spend some time on that. So I don't see that we have any questions, which is fine. There might be people actually at TBA today. I think that's still going on, which is exciting. I didn't get down there this year, but I think there's things going on.
That seems to be the case. I have noticed that this happens to be a week that the live viewings aren't that much, but we're going to see them skyrocket in a couple of days. A lot of people do that.
Fine, sure. Let's see. Sam Rodriguez, right? Release of tied rolls into a note. Do you want to hear the release? Okay. Yes, like for example, Sam, are you talking about, let's just pick measure 15, where you have eighth note roll and then a quarter note roll? Because they're tied, yes, you can hear the release of those rolls. The rolls you should not hear a release is only in measure 22. All right, those are not tied to any note. So it's not a tie like a where we don't play the next note, because it's a roll that's connected. We should hear the release. I hope that makes sense. So let me know if that makes sense. Okay. Does that make sense to you, Gil, the way I explained that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
The really quick.
Yes,
You
sir.
mentioned Brad and Brian Zader. Both of those gentlemen, in the next few weeks, are going to be here as well, guys, giving us
Awesome.
some guidance on the music. Again, guys, stay tuned, stay connected. We're gonna be giving you every single thing so that you can be successful in this
Right.
year's
Right.
season. And
Right.
we need our kids to be successful, guys. We need them, especially post COVID. So yeah.
Right, right. That's, you know, that like some of their skills, I'm sure, are not where they
Yeah.
were 2 years ago, right? Right. So yeah, and we want, gosh, we want them not only to improve and, but it's about setting them up for success. So let's do that, right? Sam is back. Let's see, measure 22. Would you think of these rolls as adding a lift and a small breath back? Yes, that works. You could do that, Sam. I like to think of them as just as I could just lift off at the end so that I don't get any kind of tap at the end of the roll. The small breath mark, there's barely time for a breath there. And since I think a wind instrument, maybe if you think of it that way, I get what you're saying. But just more like a brr, brr, brr. So you just sort of soften it at the end and lift up. Versus stopping and count 2, 3, 3. Well, you have to restart your roll on the correct count. So you do have to kind of stop. Just make sure that you're not placing a hard edge to the roll at the end. Does that make sense, Gil? Does that make sense too? I'm happy for you to chime in if you have
Yeah,
thoughts.
you're saying for us not to release it, so it just sounds like a sustained note, da da da,
Well, I
kinda.
think no release, but it's very slight release. Right?
Okay,
They're
okay,
not
okay, okay.
tied, so there does have to be a release. But I think if you wrote a breath mark, somebody's probably going to wait a little too long or cut the roll too short.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, good. Thanks, Sam. Hope that was helpful. Robert. Hi, Robert. Some people go too far to the edge on soft patterns. What is your opinion? I go near the edge for when I'm going to be playing at piano, mezzo piano or less for lengthy periods of time. So yes, you'll see me do that in the video. You do have to make sure, every drum's different. You have to make sure you're still in a space on the drum where you're hearing that snare sound. If you go too far, what do you hear? You hear the rim, right? Or the shell. So my opinion is it's okay. In my opinion, it's okay to go near the edge when you're going to be there for a while, but really listen and make sure that you're still hearing the snare sound. Sometimes you have to tune your snare, right? A lot of our drums, like I had to play with mine a little bit. Still not sure I like the way it came out on the recording. Make sure, you have to really, tune it up so that it speaks very clearly when you go near the
Yes,
edge. Yeah. And that's that could be the drum too. So I
yes.
used a pretty
And
big drum on this one. So, cause I liked it.
also, I guess adding to what you're saying, Sherry, and of course, guys, what I'm about to say, share. Some programs it's not feasible. I've encouraged some of my peers when they've asked me stuff. You need to buy several snare drums. You can't have one. You need to have multiple. And if your program can't afford them, I've done it. I own many high-end snare drums that I've paid out of my pocket, and I use them with my kids. And this was something that actually Mr. Robert Boteo, shared with me, and I started to do it. Have multiple snare drums, and then yes, sometimes when you go to the edge, a lot of drums, even though they're high end, they change the timbre changes,
Yeah.
and it starts to sound like a timbal, and that's why I've used several. I have several snare drums to try to eliminate that. That's one of the reasons, right? So if it's possible, guys, I've done it. I invest some of my own money to get instruments, and it just helps our kids. It helps our program. Yeah, it's all yes.
But also, I mean, the truth is, and I know I'm going to throw out a number, and some of our directors are going to go, yeah, I don't even have that much money, and I get that totally. But you can spend under $500 and still get a very nice snare drum.
Yes.
If you put the right head on it, maybe you have to change the snares. And ask one of us to help. There's videos out how to tune it. But most of the time I find it's not the drum's fault. All right. Don't blame it on the drum. Most of the time it's because it hasn't been tuned well, or the head's been on there for 100 years, and it's filthy, or it's got divots in it, and the snares are also not good. So, I think these days, I think there's some really nice drums under $500 that you can
Yes.
make sound awesome. You don't have to spend $1,000. So, and we're happy to answer those questions too.
Yes.
We're here. That's what we're here for.
A quick plug-in, guys. Call Jim Melhartz.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's supporting this stuff a lot.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, because he deals with all brands, right? He's
Yes.
really big.
Call him and tell him that Gilbert sent you, and he'll help you. Yes, he's a great guy. Great guy.
Yeah.
So how about we play the video, Sherry?
Let's do it. You have it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
we had fun with videos earlier, didn't we?
Yes. Actually, you mean we had some stress with videos?
And now I'm hoping it's the right one. So.
Okay, here we go.
I don't mean, I just hope it's the right take. It's 4 minutes. Oh, it's the teaching part too.
The 2022 Snare Drum Etude is from the Solo Snare Drummer by Vic Firth. It is Etude number 14 on page 17. Please be sure to check the TMEA site for the errata, because I have added a lot of dynamic markings in this etude. Play the dynamic markings that are already in the etude, but note all those that I have added. This piece is fast, so giddy up. You'll need to get out your metronome and start slowly, and think about how fast you'll have to play it eventually, so that you choose a roll speed and roll bass and a sticking that will make the piece very accurate, very consistent sounding, and strong as you play it. So you'll notice in my videos that I do a lot of the straight eighth notes with one hand and drop the flams in with the other hand. For example, just in the first two measures, I'll play it slowly, but this is the sticking I use in the first two measures, for example. I found that I could be very consistent just using my left hand as the straight eighth notes. I do this later in a few other sections, even the next measure after that, so measure 3. So it's okay to do that. We do not have to always play alternating. What's important is that you get a consistent sound and that your hands are comfortable with whatever technique and sticking that you're using. The dynamics that I've marked are somewhat extreme. There's some subito pianos coming out of fortes and a large crescendo at the end going to fortissimo. So once again, please pay attention to the errata and make sure that you add those dynamics in right away. It's not fun to have to go back and learn an etude and add dynamics in later. There are a few rolls that are tied. There are some rolls that are not. Actually, one section I want you to really pay attention, measure 22, one measure. The rolls in this particular measure are not tied, so we need to release the roll without a tap and make sure that we come back in and play each one in time. Once again, I'll remind you that this piece is quite fast. 140 to 150 doesn't sound like a big change, but when you double that, because that is in 10/8 and 7/8 and 8/8 throughout, that makes your eighth note at 300 if you play it at 150, okay? So start slow and work your technique up. Put some warm-up exercises in your plan for each day that increase your technique and improve everything that you're working on. I hope you enjoy this piece. As I've said for all the etudes, if you've listened to the others, I've enjoyed working on this. It is tricky, and I think the dynamic markings add a lot to it. So I just hope that you'll be really consistent with your practicing. I want to remind you also that there's some triplets in the piece, followed by straight eighth notes. Be careful and really subdivide and play your triplets clean and evenly. Enjoy the Snare Drum Etude by Vic Firth.
There we
We're
go.
back. And we're back.
Yes.
I feel like I look like Vanna White holding, and now we have. Oh dear.
You're gonna have some scouts coming after you, wanting to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no thanks. I realized I had the same shirt on. That's what we were talking about. That's hilarious. So.
Yes.
Oh well. All right. That's that.
So now going to the guys. Before we go on, really quick. Any other questions in relation to the snare drum? Any other questions? I'm gonna give you maybe 5 seconds, maybe. So here we're gonna
and you can always send them on that Google Docs too, right? Or
yes, please.
I'm so easy to find.
I did it, guys. I linked it so that Sherry gets it. The moment you say send, boom, she gets it.
Yep, I'm there.
Yep.
I'm there. So cool.
Going once. Going twice. Speak now or forever hold your peace. And it's gone. Okay.
Speak now or send an email or Google. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Y'all, I will tell you that I love playing timpani. I don't know. All of you probably get questions like, what's your favorite instrument to play? And that's tough, right? Because I always answer and then I get a look of disappointment. Well, it depends on the piece. Right? Because, and then if it's a non-musician, they don't really understand that. If I say, like, if it's Carmina Burana, give me the bass drum part, right? And if it's Czech 4, I want to play, crash cymbals. But I'll play timpani all the time because it's just, I just really feel in a zone when I'm playing timpani. And I think that's kind of probably not what everybody would suspect for me. I don't know. I think a lot of people thought maybe I would say marimba, but no. But I love playing everything. So no, that's just something I love to do. Give you the thunder. Oh, yes. If you're playing the thunder or lightning poke or whatever it is, but thunder makes no noise. Wait, thunder makes noise, lightning doesn't. Let's move on. So the Timpani Etude, which I love this book as well, this Ron Fink book. Note that we start the etude in measure 19. I didn't include the first couple lines. It was getting a little long, and I thought this was a great place to start to really set things up. So your tunings in the beginning, a beautiful C major chord triad from the bottom, though, a little not in root position, right? So E, G, C, E. But my suggestion always when you're learning any timpani etude or music for your band or percussion ensemble is to really sit down at a keyboard, whether it's the xylophone, marimba, or a piano itself, and learn what it's supposed to sound like melodically, right? And I say this in my teaching video. We need to approach playing timpani as though it's a melodic instrument because it is. And I think young percussionists, we forget that because we just want to get all the rhythms right. And we're still striking things that don't, and it doesn't look like a keyboard. So what does that mean? But really, it's so melodic that we really have to think of that way. And that's how we can, get our ears trained too. Most of us think that we don't have the opportunity or the privilege of being someone that has perfect pitch. And probably we don't all need to have perfect pitch. It's okay. I think it's overrated, but then I don't have it. So maybe some of you would disagree with me. I do, however, believe that 99% of us can learn to have a really great relative pitch. What does that mean? That means we can memorize what a pitch sounds like. And I think that most of you, you can test this. If you have a couple of favorite songs that you listen to on the radio and it just makes you sing all the time, and then you find yourself singing it later on during the day, if I just called on you and said, sing the first couple lines or even just the first couple of notes of your favorite pop song or whatever song it is, you would probably sing it in the correct key with the same pitches that it is in the recording because you've memorized that. Now that sounds very simplified, but that's really all it is. So I have, it's been a while now, but for a long time, and I still have it probably, I memorized what does A sound like? That's not so hard. You just have to do it. You have to practice that just like you do everything else. So let's shorten that up now. So learn what this piece sounds like. And I've noticed a lot of players when they come into audition, if they use their etudes, they have it in their head, right? So memorize what these opening pitches sound like, then memorize what it sounds like to open up those E's to an F. So now we have a different tonality. And then later on, we have to switch the G up to a B flat, and then we move the C to a D. So memorize all, yes, play it on a keyboard. Okay, just approach timpani like a melodic instrument more than you probably do. Okay, that will also help with your stroke so that you're really lifting off the drums so that you can hear that sound. Because if we don't lift off the heads, we deaden the sound a bit, and that also changes the pitch. Okay, all right, so be careful with that. Okay, that being said, the tempos that are marked already are good. I just gave you a little bit of leeway on these because I don't think you need to play, for example, the last section where we go into 6/8 starting at measure 44. I don't think you need to play that crazy fast because when you get to the last page, let me just put it up here, where we have all these 16th note patterns that require some doubling. You don't want to go too fast there because you want to be able to cleanly play these patterns, and get good sounds on all the drums. Okay. You'll read in my errata and also see on my video that I am doing a lot of doublings in this particular etude, which is not something I always do, but it works well on this etude. And really, there's no other way to play parts of this except for doing that. But I'm inclined to double moving my hand in rather than sweeping out. All right. You'll notice in Brad's videos, which are awesome, that he does a couple of cross-sticking patterns, which are fine. Again, that's why it's so great that we have all these choices. We can listen and learn from everybody and then see what works well with your hands, what's comfortable, the way your arms move, all of the above. Okay. All right. You have to tune pretty quick. I'm a big fan of sitting down when I play timpani. In fact, if I have to stand now because I get to a gig and nobody told me, or I forgot to bring my timpani through, and it's really uncomfortable for me to stand and play. So I suggest trying to start learning how to sit, especially for something like this. So just that first tuning change you have to make in measure 43 is quite fast, and it's the outside drums. So have your feet placed, be ready to go. Don't waste time moving your foot during the rest. You don't have time for that. You have to have your foot planted and ready to go. All right. And the same thing later in 58 and 69 and 70 also. Have a foot ready to change the pitches. All right. Now listen, you don't have to go out and buy or ask your band directors to buy a $150 timpani throne. They're great. There's some great ones out there. Very few, honestly, but there are some good ones. You can go to keep your eye at, I don't know, secondhand placed, just for some sort of throne that goes up and down, or if it's just for you, get one for yourself. Then it doesn't have to go up and down. Just get one that fits your body. So if you're really tall, yours is obviously going to be different than mine. But you might find something for under $20 that's comfortable for you. All right. I would suggest, and I say this in my teaching video, not getting something, a wooden stool is inexpensive and they're great. Exactly. The problem is if there's a lot of different heights, right, then that's an issue. But don't get something with wheels unless they lock, right? Because you don't want to do the disappearing act where you're trying to tune your pedals and the wheels are not locked and suddenly you're 3 feet away from the drums, okay? Ask me why I know that, okay? Been there. All right. I love this etude, as I've mentioned a few times, and I love playing timpani. I want you all to have fun with this, but the only way you're going to have fun is if you start this right away. Don't wait. And I say this in my teaching video because I'm very serious about it. Don't wait. Oh, I've got my keyboard parts learned because those came easy to me, and I'm a great snare drummer, so I've got that done. And now it's October, middle of October, and now I'm going to start on the timpani etude. It's not a good plan, friends, okay? So start on the timpani right away. I know you can't practice timpani all the time. You don't have them in your office like I do, okay? And it's not like we have 30 sets of timpani either, so my students have to find time to come in and practice. But this etude, for example, the last section, which is technically difficult, this whole last section, you can do on the floor. Set up some pillows, set up some just circles, make yourself some circles. You can practice that sticking because guess what? I did that because I was on vacation for a little bit right before I had to make these recordings. So it's just that muscle memory, getting that part going. I could still practice the pitches too when I'm away from the drums, right? So no excuses is what I'm saying. All right, just because you can't get on the drums doesn't mean you can't practice the timpani etude. All right, mallets, because I always get that. I use a medium to pretty articulate mallet. What I have in front of me right now is the molto articulate, the Vic Firth molto. I think it's a little too harsh, so I use just the articulate, which for some reason are not in my office right now. So just the articulate is what I use. The moltos are a little bit, it's rough because you do have to roll a few times, right? And then it's hard to make that roll sound as smooth. Okay, but because of the fast stuff that's coming up and the very articulate, I would go with something like that. I think that's all I got, Gil. As people, I don't see any questions at this point, which is fine.
Okay, we play the video. That way they
I
can
can't
maybe
hear
think of questions. Oh, sorry.
That's me.
We can play the
There, I
video,
gotcha.
and if they have questions, they can start thinking of them
Yeah,
and start plugging them in, and then we'll discuss those right after.
sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Hi, everyone. The 2022 Timpani Etude this year for region is out of Ron Fink's book, Musical Etudes for the Advanced Timpanist. It is the first 4-drum etude in the book, and it is located on page 27 and 28. I want you to make sure to begin preparing from measure 19, not the beginning. So you will play from measure 19 to the end. So the tunings that you start with are E, G, C, E from the low to the high. After that, you do have some tuning changes coming up, but let's talk about this first section. So it's in 3/4, but eventually, once you're comfortable with it, you'll want to feel it in 1. As you can see, I'm sitting down, and I highly recommend that you start to get used to that as well. With these quick tuning changes, it's really the best thing that you're seated so you can be comfortable and get to them quickly. It takes time, so start early. Talk to your directors about finding a timpani stool, or just go to even a restaurant supply store and find some sort of bar stool that has an adjustable height so that you can get used to it. Be careful not to purchase something that has wheels unless they lock, because it's no fun to start rolling backwards as you're trying to change pitch. Okay, so playing in 1 in this first section, and then we get to a fermata at measure 42, and you'll see in the notes that I said you should play the fermata measure at least 2 measures long and no more than 3. So you have 2 choices there. You may play it 2 measures or 3 measures long. Then during the grand pause, you have up to 6 measures still in the 3/8 time, 3/4 time, to change both the high E and the low E to an F. So you use a half step on each drum. Now that goes by rather fast in 1. So I suggest that you have your right foot already set on the top drum early. I'm putting my foot in that pedal position around measure 38. I have the roll tied into the C dotted half note. Then you can quickly switch over and get to the other pedal to change that octave, the F octave. Now, notice that when we come back in 6/8, our tempo is completely different. So check the markings. It's around 108, but you have some adjustments that you can make there. I promise you do not want to push this. I think it goes up to 110. You do not want to push beyond that, because when you look at the second page, you'll see some 16th note patterns coming. And if you push yourself too fast, the tendency will be just to play sloppy and not really be able to articulate all of the notes. Notice coming up in this section at 58, you have 2 measures to change the G to a B flat, so you want to have your foot set for that. You strike the high F just before it, have your foot set, ready to go. And then about 8 bars later, you have to change the C up to a D. So again, have your foot set and ready to go, which again is way more easy if you're seated on a stool or a throne of some sort. Make sure that you get that throne adjustable so you can get up as high as you need to be and still be comfortable reaching the pedals. And for some of us, that's quite an adjustment. We have to figure out exactly what works depending on our leg length. We want to make sure that our hands and arms can relax at our side and we can reach the drums comfortably. and get a good beating spot. So just to demonstrate, right now I'm not really in a great spot because I have to really pull my arm back to get to a beautiful spot on this little drum. So I'm going to back up a tad. All right, I can still reach the pedals, but now easy access to all of the drums without having to hurt my shoulder or work really hard to find a good beating spot on a small drum. It's important just to be able to get there easily, just like when you're playing drum set. Okay, so this last section, again, I mentioned be careful not to rush. We have about 8 bars that are marked at a dynamic marking of forte. And then notice that it backs down to mezzo forte when the tough stuff comes in. But we have some accents that need to pop up just above that mezzo forte. Your tendency is going to be to rush this and also to overplay it. Okay, we see accents and we just kind of go for it, right? Just be careful to stay within that mezzo forte range. Just let those accents ride over the top of it, okay? Now, I use a lot of double sticking in this etude, which I don't normally use, and I try to honestly avoid at most times, but there's no way to play this etude without it. So it's a good opportunity to work on your double strokes and make sure that each drum speaks cleanly, each stroke is clean, and the sound is consistent. I prefer to double stroke on an inward motion when I'm playing timpani, so going this way, and if you look in your music at measure 80, 81, and where this all starts, it's right, right, left, left. So you want it to be smooth, but you want to make sure that each stroke is a beautiful stroke and you're getting a great sound wherever, whichever motion you're going from, here or here. The measure before that, measure 79, I would alternate through that. The double stroking. Now, throughout this, I really highly recommend that you write in your sticking, because these next 8 measures, if you don't write in your sticking, you'll change it all the time, and it'll never feel comfortable, all right? So starting slow, just like I was doing, if not slower, so that you can really, really make it solid and comfortable. Save your dynamics. Notice you have to drop down to mezzo piano in measure 93, and then make a nice crescendo back up to forte to finish the piece out. This piece is challenging, but it's really fun to play. I would highly recommend that you take your time, learn all the pitches, know in your head what, and your ear, what does this piece supposed to sound like. Think of playing timpani like it's a melodic instrument, because it is. We're playing pitches, and it's very important that we hear it that way. Lots of fun rhythms to play, lots of good dynamics in this etude, but if you leave this etude to last, which I know is difficult, it's difficult for us to get to timpani all the time. There's probably 1 set in your band room, maybe 2, and maybe a set that's not in such good shape that you could practice some of the technical stuff on. But make it a priority. Maybe you and your section students figure out practice times when you can all get together and work through this etude. Again, if you wait till the last couple weeks, it's just a difficult etude, and I think it's very playable, but I want you to spend some time on it and make some really great sounds. So I hope you enjoy this 4-drum etude number 1 from Ron Fink's book, The Musical Timpanist. Thank you. Hi, everyone. The two mallet.
There we go.
I can't hear you, Gil, but sometimes it's me.
Now?
I don't know why.
No, I hear you now.
Huh.
I couldn't hear you either.
Let's try again.
Can you hear us?
I'm
Test,
not
test,
hearing
test,
you.
test.
Not sure why. Let me try this.
Everything seems fine over here.
Okay.
Can you guys? I think our audience is hearing us. Guys, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you now.
Yes, no? Okay, good. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, 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 good. Yeah, for some reason today, guys, there's been some technical difficulties. That's how come we had to like delay a little bit on the stream. I had to adjust the time from 12 to 12:15 for that reason. We it's been weird, and it's not. It's been both of us on both ends. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, any questions, guys? Any questions? Please, please, flood the stream with questions. Any extra stuff you can share with us, Sherry?
Extra stuff. I think because I realized I talked even longer when I got to the video, so there's a lot of information there, but that sort of shows you how much I like timpani. But there's some more complicated stuff going on with the timpani etudes. So
Yeah.
I just I think it's important for the students to look at the overall all of the music. Look it over. Where are your strengths? So like if you know you're a strong keyboard player. But you're not so strong on snare drum, then do you need to focus a little more on the snare drum, right? And I'm old school, like I would use a notebook, and like write down, okay, every day I want to look at each etude, and whether that means literally just look at it or actually practice it. But if you don't have a plan, it's gonna make its own plan, which is not good. Right? You have to have a plan on how to do this, especially now that we're starting. All of you are starting back, all the band directors and the students starting back to summer band, right? So you have those 8 to 8s or whatever they are, like 24-hour marching band practices that I remember doing last year with my son, last 4 years. So, if you don't have a plan, it's going to plan itself for you, right? And then then you're trying to rush and learn it all at the last minute, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work with anything, but it really doesn't work with music, does it? To learn stuff at the last minute. I see Drew just wrote. Drew, you might have missed it. Maybe you were having coffee. I don't know, buddy. But I suggested an articulate mallet, but not like super articulate, because we have a couple of those rolls, and we don't want to sound like we're just playing 30-second notes. So I was using the Vic Firth Tim Jennis articulate mallet. Cool.
We have a question from Sam.
Yeah. As you saw in the video, I used very little dampening, but I did use it a little bit. Just like there's some longer notes that I thought I could clear out some things. So I didn't mark it in my music exactly where I did them. But like between measure 34 and 35, I did one. There's a quarter note rest there. I just cleared out some notes here and there, but I think it's too much when it takes away from the music, right, or the phrasing. So be careful there. When we're playing with an ensemble, we need to dampen and mute so that it makes sense with what we're blending with. But when you're playing solo stuff, you want to make sure you don't have notes ringing through, since it's just you. So I would say go back and check the video, and I can write some things down because I didn't write them in my music. It came sort of naturally to me. But I'm happy to write some of that down. Normally it's like, let the note ring for its full value that's written, right? That's the normal.
What I do is what I personally do is I listen to the piece and I try to see how it flows.
Yeah.
That there's no interruption, and I try to get a lot of good wind players, to listen to the recordings and give me their thoughts. And I have personally noticed that there's a lot of places at times where some of my students they won't muffle, where about 90% of the room is muffling. on those sections, and I've noticed that, you know, they're still successful. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's quite a difference. You're talking about sometimes what I hear in the room as a judge, you know, and then what the amount of my students are doing, it's
Yeah.
significantly less.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that's just my thoughts, guys, my observation,
Yeah.
2 cents worth.
Yeah. I don't think there's a lot in this particular etude. Obviously, you should dampen when you have to do your changes so you don't have stuff ringing through.
Somebody's giving you props.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks. Appreciate it. You can tell I have fun playing timpani. Yeah, Drew. That's why I said that, buddy. He is a coffee professional.
Yeah, that means Drew and I need to hang out. I'm a connoisseur myself. I like to pride myself on that.
There you go. Gil, you should have Drew on your show sometime, because I don't know if you have already. Did I miss it? I don't think you
No,
have.
I don't think. No, I have
Yeah.
not. I have not. But
the art of freelancing and so many other things. Drew is, you know, like I said, like the most successful freelancer in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he's playing all the time. Like he's a man, and he's super talented. He taught for a while at SFA many years ago. Did a like a sabbatical for somebody, I'm thinking, right, Drew? Get back.
Yes.
Anyway, just one of my best buddies. I love him. But I'm going to talk because he's just awesome, and he's a fantastic player, person, human being. And I think, you know, for people that want to freelance and do that, he would be a great resource for them. So it might be there, Drew. I just gave you a plug.
And Sherry, I want to add to that. Drew, you're probably listening. I would love to have you as a guest here. We would love to. So I don't know if I have you as a friend on Facebook. If not, we need to make sure we do. Or Sherry, can you give him my number?
I can make all this happen. Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
And Drew, your question there, how do you handle the judge who's never heard this etude before? Wow. That would be tricky, right? Because if they're not a percussionist, it's really difficult. And I'm sure that happens. I don't know that I know the answer to that. I think it should not happen. But how can it not? I mean, I think I told you all, maybe I just told Gil, I had my husband listen to the snare drum etude at one point, and he was like, and he's a fantastic musician, but he plays horn. So he got lost.
Yeah.
He's like, what happens? He was just lost. Now the other stuff, it was great. And of course, after a second listen, he'd be fine. But honestly, if you're a judge and you're going in, to me, that's like disrespectful to not have spent a few minutes looking at the stuff you're about to judge.
Yes, but unfortunately, Sherry, Drew, that's a very, very valid question. My ears perked up when you said that, because it always happens every year. Every year. And the thing is, sometimes, you know, it does affect some students.
Sure.
I've seen it, right? We all have. Anybody that's judged is going right now is going.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Seen it happen. And I like that question. Oh yes, that's true as well. Yeah, it happens. Judges who got recruited to hear an instrument they are not familiar with. Yes, they're a wind player, maybe a first year teacher, wind player, gets picked to judge percussion, and it's like, oh my gosh, my stomach cringes at that point. It's like, okay.
Well, and I've had some of my undergrads, like freshman, sophomore, say, oh, I'm judging this weekend at somewhere, and I'm thinking, oh no, you are not ready for that. So I don't know if you put that on. I mean, that's the region people that pick them. I don't know. I'm like, nobody asked me. I probably can't do that now, but I don't know. Almost do it, you know, for I don't know.
Yes, I think that's a valid question to address, Drew. I'm really glad you thought of it. Following up on that.
Yeah, Sam. Yes, agreed. I know it's rough though. Like when you get out to some areas where there just really aren't that many people to choose from, right?
Yes.
It's a big state. I mean, where I live, there's a lot of people to choose from, and a lot of really fine educators and percussionists and musicians. But there's some areas in the state where there isn't that. So I think this is a much bigger discussion.
Yes, and I'm glad it's being put on the table. I mean, how far it's going to go because of this discussion, I honestly don't know. But you know, you have some people that are successful in this, that are giving some valid comments. Sam Rodriguez being one of them. The thing is, I remember this one time, Sherry. This was a few years ago, and a student played in area.
Mhm.
The kid, uh, by far, everybody that was there agreed that kid by the end of the audition, that kid's gonna make it. Everybody was like, and they were even congratulating him before the results came out.
Uh-oh.
The kid was solid. The kid didn't advance. Like,
What happened?
how? Yeah, exactly. So yes, uh, how to be addressed, I don't know, but I think it's a topic that should be considered instead of just saying, well, it's part of the process.
Yeah,
No,
no,
no.
that's not
What
right.
can we think about? What can we
Yeah.
think about? Yes, exactly.
Now,
That kid
yeah, go ahead.
stopped percussion that year,
Oh,
period. That kid was going to study music. That kid, I don't think he even went to college thereafter. He was deeply disheartened. I've seen of kids that are shot down that way, and they quit, and they're sophomores, and they should have advanced, and they're sophomores, and they quit.
mm,
Banned.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
tricky.
So yeah, it's
That's
it's
too
it's
bad.
it's it's yes. One of the things that I always talk to my students because of that, and this is the way I put it to them. No disrespect. I put it like as I say it as in a joke, and it includes me because I'm a judge a lot of the times too. So I'm a part of that group, and I go cater to the dumbest, newest judge in the room. Play to him. Play to him. And how to do it, I don't know. Maybe there is a science, and somebody can probably study it, or that has some insight can share it with us. But what I personally do, thinking of that, is fundamentals.
Mhm.
Play with good tone, good sounds,
Yeah,
be rhythmically accurate,
yeah,
including pulse, right? And I hate to say this because we're musicians and music breathes, and it's not it's played by imperfect humans, and when it's played by imperfect humans it sounds so beautiful. But I play the page
yeah.
as close as I can,
That's
as
right.
close as I can. And with those things, Drew, with those things, I have seen kids be successful. They just go through one part, the first edition, the second edition, the
Yeah,
third edition, the fourth edition, and sometimes these are kids that are freshmen or sophomores, and that's the thinking process.
right.
Cater to the dumbest, least experienced judge in the room, including myself. Uh,
Mhm.
Perfect right notes and rhythms and pulse, tone quality, as close to the page as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
That's
yeah,
big.
and
And
well, we
if there's
talked
other
about that
things that
last
we would
week,
like to
right?
know them,
Yeah,
yes,
we talked about that last week. That yes, we're musicians and we want to play it as musically as possible, but you cannot stray that far from what the ink is because it is a competition, right? So you have to be careful there. And Sam, I agree. I mean, well, and I would kind of call that the process, but we all we have to put everything in perspective. I mean, music is not all about competition, right? It cannot
yeah,
be all about competition. It is about becoming a better musician. But you know, it's a fine line because if we're setting kids up that maybe have a desire to be in a professional orchestra, well, there's an audition that's really rough, right? Because now you're playing for a violinist and a clarinetist and a principal trumpet player. So while you're playing Scheherazade, the trumpet player is hearing his part, not your part. He wants to know that your part's going to fit with his part. So you know, we have to say that you have to have a pretty strong, you got to have a lot of guts to be in this business. I'm saying,
yes,
you know.
yes,
But when we're talking with young students that we're trying to encourage, uh, you know, think about, like I've had students feel like they're never going to get into college if they don't make it to All-State, and that's just not true. That's not
yes,
true at all. So you have to say the world's not going to end if you don't make it to All-State. Somehow you have to make sure they understand that we want you to get better, but the sun's going to come up the next day, and you have
yes.
improved, and we're proud of you. Yeah, there you go,
That is
Drew.
so
That's right.
true, Drew. So true, so true. Once a kid graduates, they're not going to experience, something like this
Right.
afterwards. Yes,
Right. Yeah.
even if they're music majors.
Right.
exactly. Yeah, I like some of the other comments here. And you know, it's hard. I've had students come here from some very, very competitive band programs, marching primarily, but really all around. And they come here and they
Yes.
don't understand that we're not in competition. Like our marching band doesn't go to
Yes.
competition. Okay.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
and that's hard for them. It's a what? How does that doesn't feel right because they're so like they've been doing that all 4 years, you know, in
Yes.
high school.
Yes.
And boy, this is again another conversation, like a
Yes.
long
Another topic.
conversation.
We went on a tangent, but
We
that's
did.
who we are. We're musicians, and we love what we do. And you know, we can go on and on different
Yeah.
tangents.
I want our young people that we're bringing up through the ranks now to love music, to love how it makes them feel, to love that they can put something on their in their headphones that makes them happy, that when they're not happy, you know, I want them to come to concerts and remember that when they're 50 years old, that, oh, I played this piece when I was in high school and I love it. I don't want them to grow up feeling like, oh, and all they remember is when they lost. That's not
Mhm.
good. We want them to remember
Exactly.
what music is, you know,
Exactly.
what really matters.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that what we can gather from this little chat that we just had, our consideration, you know, both sides have to be addressed. What can be done about the judging, and you know, how do us as teachers to address it to the student? Because you know, I guess
Yeah,
that's what we need to do. I
it's
think.
up to
Yeah.
us.
Yes.
Yeah, yep.
So, Sherry, any closing words? Anything else that you'd like to share uh, with us?
I wanted people to know that I'm here to help, you know, and if they have questions, you're not going to hurt my feelings. If, you know, if you see that I made a mistake on my videos, I'm human just like everybody else. Just talk to me. You know, if you have a student that's struggling with something, I'm here for you. Whatever you're struggling with stuff in these etudes, right? So uh, that's about it. It's an honor to be able to do this. So I'm here.
Yes. Sherry, I know I speak for the rest of our colleagues in the state of Texas. We are so fortunate to have educators like you in our group, in our clique, in our yes,
Team.
yes, we have a beautiful team that is another level rock stars.
Yeah.
You, Brad, Brian Zader, just to name a few, Todd Meehan, you know, I'm sure I left plenty of them out. We all know them, but we are so fortunate to have you here, Sherry,
Thank
and
you.
you are appreciated. And I want to let you know that you, ma'am, every time you pick the music, this has been, I think, your fourth time, third time ish.
I think third. Yeah. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, every time, every year that you pick the music, okay, you enhance the education of students in the state of Texas and the teaching skills of the educators of the state of Texas. I can vouch for that. Yes.
I appreciate that.
So thank you so much for being so sharing with us, Sam.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Very much.
Sam, I hope I get to meet you. Joe, thank you.
Joseph, yes, some great educators, both of them, um, uh, happen to be good friends of mine. So,
Excellent.
yes, well, guys, that has been the release of the Texas All-State Percussion Audition Etudes by Miss Sherry Rubins. Again, guys, we got in touch, and as soon as she finished recording the etudes, she called me. Okay, let's talk. We need to do this. And she kept saying, I want to make sure I'm there for the teachers to answer any questions. So she wanted to make sure that she was accessible to us and that we could have our questions answered. So that's beautiful from your part, guys. Please like, subscribe, follow, and share. We have some, and just like today, just like yesterday's clinic, if you did not see me,
Mm.
you really want to stay, like, share, subscribe, follow, so that you can stay abreast of what's going to be coming. Yes, sometimes I cannot announce it before, guys, because we're juggling schedules between me and the artists, right? And then other artists are available in certain day, and then they reach out and tell me, I really can't. Can we change it? So this is happening. So the best thing that you can do is to stay alert by following, subscribing, sharing, liking, so that you can know what's coming up next week. On Tuesday, Joe Hobbs, staff member of the Bluecoats Drum and Bugle Corps, how to have a successful band camp. I'm excited about that one. And then on Saturday, next Saturday, drum set, Pat Petrillo. If you haven't heard that gentleman, if you haven't seen that gentleman, oh my gosh, you want to see that. And drum set or percussion or jazz in general, all-state editions are going to be creeping up. You want to be aware of that. And you can also go back, guys, to our library. There's Tim Jennis giving you an amazing timpani clinic, covers the different stroke types. Amazing clinic on VPF 2021 day 3 morning session. You're going to find it there. There's another clinic by Corey Doran on how to learn a snare etude. There's tons of stuff there, guys, and it's all free. It's all free. You just have to go and watch. As a matter of fact, guys, you don't even have to like, share, subscribe to go and watch it as many times as you want. We would appreciate it, because that's going to help us to continue to do this, and it is our goal to continue to do this. Guys, thank you, Sherry. It is
You're
always
welcome.
fun to be
taking
in
a
your
screenshot.
company, ma'am. Oh, it is always it is always fun, ma'am,
Thank
to
you. It's good to see you.
be around you always.
Appreciate it.
So
Appreciate it.
without further ado,
Hi, my name's Corey Doran.
Awesome Clinic by Corey Doran.
Are you breaking things down early enough to exercise certain skill sets? Remember to get out of those habitual stopping point, to exercise certain skill sets early enough to make sure that you have the tools to do it.
All those concepts, as you could see in Corey's clinic, they're perfectly transferable to any time that you're going to learn any etude for any situation, right?
I'm here to talk about how to break down a solo and ensemble snare drum etude. I want to thank my sponsors, Innovative Percussion, Sabian Cymbals, Mapex Drums, and Majestic Percussion.